We are ready to begin whenever you are.
Okay, I will call the regular meeting of the Oregon City Commissioner order for 10/21/2020 at 7 o'clock. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell,
Here.
Commissioner Denise McGriff,
Present.
Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith is absent this evening, Mayor Dan Holliday.
Here. Please stand and join me in flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so do we still have a presentation from Clackamas Fire?
We do.
So let's have them.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. Thank you for allowing the fire district to take a few minutes of your time tonight. We just want to update the commission on two important topics. The first would be those devastating wildfires that we have experienced starting on Labor Day, September 7th. We also want to briefly describe a proposed legal integration between Clackamas Fire District Number 1 and Estacada Fire District Number 69. So first, related to those fires, what a significant impact, not only here locally to Clackamas Fire, the residents that we proudly serve, but really across our county and across the state of Oregon. And at one point, we had heard there were nearly 1 million acres of fire across the landscape across Oregon, which made our efforts here locally very difficult because of resources. So where we are for today, the Riverside fire that many of you were certainly impacted by. This is the fire that came off the U.S. Forest Service off of Mount Hood and came down into the communities of Colton and Estacada. So today that fire is about 138,000 acres and reported to be 72% contained. The other major wildfires within Clackamas County that we responded to would be known as the North Cascade Complex or the Clackamas County fires. That would include the Dowdy, Unger, Wilhoit, and Grays Creek. Those total about 2,700 acres, and those are also reported at 100% contained. All of these fires are currently under investigation by the Oregon Department of Forestry, and Clackamas Fire is helping support those efforts where we can. Where we are today is we have moved into a recovery mode. We understand the significant stress and strain this has placed on the community and our firefighters. So we're working to begin to rebuild and recover from these devastating fires. Early on when these fires started, we had an outpouring of support from the community, the donation of goods and services, equipment, citizen heroes out standing shoulder to shoulder with our firefighters, helping protect home and property. We also had a number of residents, community members, and businesses who wanted to make financial contributions. Those contributions have been sent to the Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation. We're proud to say we've received over $120,000 in wildfire relief funding to help those directly impacted. To date, we have dispersed about $40,000. So again, we're looking for every opportunity to reinvest locally in those who were so deeply impacted. Next, we have to talk about the fire district's performance. And we saw success in some areas and we were certainly challenged in others. So we will be working through a comprehensive after-action review this December to review our performance, look at, again, those areas where we found success, areas that we struggled, and then recommendations for improvement. So with that, I think I'll pause, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can about these wildfires.
Questions? No questions here, Chief.
All right, thank you very much. Just the next topic we wanted to bring to your attention is the proposed merger, again, between Estacada Fire District Number 69 and Clackamas Fire District Number 1. You'll see this on the November 3rd ballot. This is measure 3-560, 3-561. Again, this is looking to legally integrate the two fire districts. We've been working together since about 2015 through a number of limited intergovernmental agreements. And that moved into a contract for service beginning January 1 of 2020. That's an 18-month contract. And just bringing awareness, this group and anyone who is listening in tonight, that you can find all the information related to this matter at clackamasfire.com. We're happy to answer any questions about that proposed merger as well.
No questions here, Chief. Oh, Commissioner McGriff.
All right, with that, that's all we have tonight.
1 second,
Yes.
Commissioner McGriff.
Thank you, Mayor Holliday. Hi, Chief Charlton. So I was interested in this particular issue because it's obviously we recently did it and several other communities. So how big is too big for the fire district?
That's a great question. So our history of working collaboratively through mergers and annexations dates back to 1976. So proudly, we're made up of about 12 communities and fire departments that have come together to make up Clackamas Fire District #1 as we know it today. And again, we focus on service delivery, improving our performance, and how we can really find efficiencies in what we do. We have a long history, a successful history of legal integrations, but again, we always bring it before the voters so that they can weigh in and look at the pros and cons of what it really to begin to merge fire departments and what does it look like as we expand our boundaries.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Sir, do we currently operate under any mutual aid agreements?
Yes, sir, we do. We are party to an intra-county mutual aid agreement. That is all the fire departments within Clackamas County. So we do, we receive and we also give both automatic and mutual aid across the county.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, just one more.
go ahead.
Chief, I did want to say thank you. I appreciated the fact that the firefighters that are based here in Oregon City seem to be able to stay and as they rotate in and out of the stations. But we get to see the same people over and over again because that way they get more integrated into the community. People start to know who they are and see them. And I really wanted you to know I appreciated that. And, you know, they're not getting rotated in and out and then you don't see the same people and you think, well, wait a minute, is that like the last guy that came to our meeting? No, we want to see this person or that person. So thank you for that. Makes them feel more like a part of the community.
Thank you very much. I know our firefighters appreciate that as well.
Okay, any other questions? Thanks, Chief, for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Enjoy your meeting.
That takes us to ceremonies and citizen comment. Mr. Gifford?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is William Gifford. I live in Oregon City. I hope you can hear me through this. Good enough?
It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay.
That's about all we're going to get tonight. I'm honored to come after Chief Charlton as I sit on the budget committee for the fire district. He's not allowed to advocate for budget measure or ballot measures, but I can, and I certainly would encourage y'all to vote and tell your constituents to vote for the annexation of the Damascus fire district. It's a win-win for everybody, and it's very successful. I know that Clackamas Fire has been recognized as one of the finest fire districts in the world, and I'm very proud of them.
Did you mean Estacada, Mr. Gifford? You said Damascus.
I'm sorry, Estacada, yeah.
Damascus isn't a city.
What's that?
Damascus is not a city.
Correct.
Anymore.
Yeah, well, we won't go into that. We won't go into that. My purpose tonight, however, was to thank Commissioners O'Donnell and McGriff for participating in the Chamber's meet and greet last Thursday night. I thought it was very well received. I got some very positive feedback from everyone who attended that, and to remind folks that next Tuesday at 11:30, from 11:30 to 1 o'clock, the Oregon City Chamber is going to be having an additional forum specifically dedicated to the candidates for our two commission seats. And if people don't have access to that, then ocbusinessalliance.com is the website to go to. ocbusinessalliance.com can get an invitation to you, but you do need to register beforehand. So please don't wait till the last minute to get onto that. Lastly, it's just come to my attention that there's a piece of property on Main Street that Oregon City generally has been trying to sell for a long time. And I'm tickled silly to see an opportunity for us to get something, some improvement in that area, and hopefully hope we can maximize this opportunity. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else, Kay?
Yes, we have Betty Mum.
Commissioner Rum?
Betty Mom, Oregon City. In a newspaper article just a few days ago was a report on the mayor's investigative report. Commissioner O'Donnell, Jude said you asked for this to be released. Apparently it's been, you guys have had it for a couple of weeks. I don't know why you haven't released it already. You know, it should have already been made public. Then I was speaking to a reporter, found out that Commissioner McGriff represented herself as an Oregon city inspector, walking into a private home uninvited, telling homeowners to stop work, apparently a couple of times. Homeowners found out that she was not an inspector, she was a city commissioner. Then called your city manager and his HR director. I believe there was a complaint filed, but then it got buried. I wonder what else he's not telling you. Why do you have one standard for the mayor and a different for the commission? I don't know. Now, on to your recall campaign committee. The lies that have been told, their nose has to be in Mexico by this time. They had to go back over 30 years to find any citations against the mayor. What's he done? My neighbor, who's elderly, called the newspaper, asked the newspaper, what has the mayor done to make this happen? The newspaper said, we're gonna have to call you back. And she's still waiting to hear back from him. So as Commissioner Smith has said, I sleep with the mayor, so my voice doesn't matter to you. But I'm hoping that it will matter to somebody in TV land, and they won't be afraid to come and speak to you about other issues that are going on in this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, perhaps Mr. Conkle wants to make a response to that innuendo. Do you care to respond or just leave it go?
Well, I think it's important to clarify that the city does not bury
That's right.
information. I do not bury information. The complaint was filed. The city has a citizen complaint process for employees. We do not have a policy that provides clear direction how complaints are brought against commissioners. The property in question filed a complaint on our citizen complaint form for employees. We, myself, the attorney, Patrick, looked at it. We contacted the complainant and explained, if you think that there was something criminal, you need to call the police department. If you would like to file a complaint against a city commissioner, you need to bring it to the commission. They did not follow up. This is very frustrating. It puts staff in a horrible position when this is brought forward. But we did not bury this. We put the onus on the complainant to bring forward a complaint if they have a legitimate one. And they understood what that process was, and they chose not to, as far as I understand. So that's all that I have to say.
And I also need to say something. I am deeply upset that Ms. Mum brought this up. The information that she received was incorrect. I was not at that property. I did not enter their property. I did not identify myself as a city inspector of any sort, and I resent the lie that was presented here in front of the commission. And that is all I want to say about it.
Let us remember it's an election year and these things are going to surface, truthful or not. And secondly, would you care to address the attorney-client privilege and why the thing has not been released as of yet? And maybe everyone should stay
Let's just
tuned.
deal with that.
Well,
No, I want to deal with it right now.
She brought it up. I think the city has a right to
Well,
state
we're
their
gonna
position.
discuss that in exec session in about an hour. So what's the point in going through right now?
I'd like Mr. Conkle to answer, Mr. Mayor.
for those that tune
So
out.
first, before you do that, Mr. Conkle, I want to say that I had no idea what Ms. Mum was going to say tonight. So anything that she said is between her and you or her and the commission. I had no idea what she was going to say tonight.
We're not making any inference to you, Dan.
I wasn't addressing you, Ms. McGriff.
Well, I thought it was
Mr. Conkle?
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess I'm looking for direction here.
simply it was stated that, I did make the statement and I stand by it. I wanted a timely release of that report and I still do. And apparently the mayor has chosen to speak to her. So let's see what the evening brings and maybe we can satisfy everybody.
Okay.
It did not get released because of the claim of attorney-client privilege, which we were so advised by legal counsel. And that was in the interest of protecting everyone's rights, including the mayor's. Thank you.
Is anybody else for a citizen comment? Then I'm going to take some time. So tonight I want to address some of the claims that the recall proponents have made. But first I have some questions for our attorney. Mr. Kabizman, have I been personally named in any lawsuits against the city?
Yes, I believe you've been named in 2 lawsuits, one by Mr. Matheson and one by Mr. Nacita.
Okay, in the Matheson case, who paid for my defense?
The city's insurance company, CIS.
Yes, okay. And would any other sitting commissioner be entitled to that same defense in the same circumstances?
If the same allegations were made, yes, they would be entitled to the
Okay.
same defense.
And what was the final resolution of the Matheson case?
I was not intimately involved in it, but as I understand it, the matter was resolved on summary judgment, which meant that there are no disputed facts and that the city and you were entitled to judgment as a matter of law.
And so, in that circumstance, would you say that Mr. Matheson provided no compelling evidence to support any of his claims?
I have trouble with compelling, but what that means is that, there was no dispute about what happened and that Mr. Matheson's claim were not supported by the law.
And so, according to the law, neither I nor anyone at the city did anything wrong.
That is my understanding of the result of the case.
Thank you. So, in the case of Mr. Nacita, this is the second or third time that he's sent a tort notice claim, and the first time that he's filed in federal court. But would you characterize that suit as having any more merit than the Matheson case?
Is that ongoing or is that?
As I understand it, it hasn't been resolved, and I just don't know enough about it to really comment
All
on
right,
the
thanks,
merits.
sir. So I guess that blows a big hole in the claim that I've cost the city thousands of dollars in legal fees. Mr. Conkle, why does the city carry this insurance? And you've already answered that question. Why does the city carry CIS insurance?
It's essentially a liability insurance that the city has. It's part of a larger pool to protect the city from, tort claims, damages. There are damages that happen as employees. There are damages that happen to city infrastructure.
Right.
So it's essentially it's an insurance.
So in this situation, that doesn't change the cost of the insurance depending on, is it done a year-to-year rolling average, or how does that work?
It's like any type of insurance. We'll receive a premium rate depending on the usage or the
Right.
payment out of. Essentially that rate is given to us yearly at our renewal, based on the amount of that resource that we used or any potential, where you really see a driver is if you have large payouts,
Right.
typically.
Sure. Okay. So we'll get on to the fireworks now. Back in early June, I learned that the city of Sandy was going ahead with a fireworks show for July 4th. Upon learning that, I decided to see if we could do the same here in Oregon City. I started this by contacting Western Fireworks in Canby to see what the cost might be and whether they could do a show in that short of a time frame. They said they could and gave me an estimate of the cost. From there, I contacted some local businesses to see if there was enough interest or support for sponsorships. I never took any money, nor did I at any time suggest any kind of a tit for tat when speaking to these businesses. My only thought was that with all the negative things happening, that it would be great for our community to come together and celebrate for a few minutes in a socially distant way, violating the governor's orders. I had discussions with many mayors across the state about the business closures and our shared concern of what these closures would do to our local business communities. At no time did I tell anyone they could open their business or violate executive orders. I do agree with many across the state and nation that these orders are unconstitutional, but that will be left to the courts for probably many years to come. Now we're starting to see the results of these devastating closures, with drug overdoses increasing dramatically, increases in suicides and depression, and massive increases in poverty. Here's what I believe. I don't believe that Oregon City or its citizens are racist, or that our systems in the city are systemically racist. I know that our police department and its employees are not racist. How do I know this? I know many of the men and women who serve, but more importantly, I know Chief Band and the rest of the senior staff, and they would be the first ones to root out any behavior that suggested racism. In fact, it was police officers who brought forward the complaint that eventually led to the termination of the former city manager. I do believe that Oregon City is a great place to live, and our citizens are kind and help their neighbors when needed. At the end of the day, what this recall about is folks in the community and here on the commission did not like my opinion on various things. But I never took any action or issued any directive on any matter. I just exercised my First Amendment right to state that opinion. Finally, I do not, nor will I support any group that supports defunding or eliminating our police department. With that, we will move on to general business. 7A, real estate contract for the sale of the Oregon City Police Department property located at 320 Warren Milne Road, the Clackamas County Vector Control District. Mr. Kunkel.
Mr. Chair, did you forget number 5, adoption of the agenda?
Oh, I did. Here, is everybody okay with the agenda? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, evening commissioners. So tonight we have a real estate contract for the sale of the Oregon City Police Department to Clackamas County Vector Control. I'll go ahead and turn this over to Chief Band to provide the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. So I'll really just kind of say this for the listening public so they sort of understand, because this came up in September and here it is again. And not a whole lot has changed in the contract. In a nutshell, what happened was we had worked out an agreement with the director of Vector Control. You approved what they had asked for technically. And then when it went before their board, there were a couple little changes that they had wanted. The only two really changes in that entire contract that you approved before till now are: one, the due diligence period is a flat 90 days with an added 30 days to close once the due diligence completed. And then the other one was something that one of their board members wanted, that basically was that any reports that they generate during due diligence, if we wanted to own half of, or to own the report, to have the report, be able to produce the report to somebody, that the city would pay half. So an example would be if say that the sale did not go through with them and they had paid to have a level 1 environmental done, and it showed that the building was free of any environmental concerns. If we went forward and had another prospective buyer and we wanted to show that report to another prospective buyer, Vector just said, hey, if you're going to benefit from that, we would want you to pay for half of any report that you wanted. So we have that option if there's a report that we want. Other than that, the only other change is this has already been to their board. It is already signed and waiting for your approval.
Okay. Questions? Is there a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve the proposed sale of the property at 320 Warner Milne Road to Clackamas County Vector Control District, as stated by Chief Band.
I'll second it.
Moving second, further discussion? Call roll.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
No.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Denise McGriff,
Aye.
and Mayor Dan Holliday.
Aye, motion carries. 7B, resolution number 20-30, extending temporary restaurant parklets in the right-of-way and temporary dining and retail and private park lots through the winter. I assume this is Ms. Turway.
Thank you very much. In response to COVID-19 pandemic, the commission approved a resolution allowing adjacent restaurants to use on-street parking for outdoor dining called, sorry, one second, referred to as parklets, as well as the use of restaurants and retail businesses to use up to half their parking lot for similar uses. The program did not allow those uses to extend over the winter months. This proposal would extend those allowances over the winter months from December 1st to March 14th. The revised proposal includes changes to the applicability date within the program guide. And then it also highlights any changes that would require additional review, which is $25. So for example, if a parklet or a business within a parking lot proposes to add in heaters or something like that, maybe it's a parking lot one that wants to add an actual canopy structure, those would have to go through staff review, and that would include a review by the fire department, building department, things like that as well. At the last meeting, I was asked about the timing for parklets. It sounded like there was a question about how quickly the parklet applications were being reviewed. In that meeting, I identified that it was a priority for Public Works staff. I have since talked to Public Works staff who reviews them, and they identified that their directive was to turn around all of those permits within 24 hours. And if something was identified as missing or incomplete, if an applicant didn't contact them within a week, they would proactively contact applicants just to make sure it was still on their radar and knew that it was missing. In the agenda, you found letters from Archbridge Tap House, Oregon City Brewing, and then the Downtown Oregon City Association. I want to enter into the record tonight 3 additional letters, one from Nancy Bush of Weinhardt Grill, one from Bryce Morrow of OC Brewing, and another from Jake Joy of the Verdict Bar and Grill. The letters include a mixture of those that support the extension and those that do not. I am here to answer any questions that you have.
Questions?
Sorry,
Commissioner Smith?
those last 3 letters are not opening on,
They are not.
so I haven't been
showing
able
on
to
you.
look at those.
Just a second, and I'll get those up for you.
Last 3.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They
Or
have- I
four,
have 'em, I
file
just
not
need to
found.
Get them, so you'll have to hit refresh in just a second.
So I have a question while we're waiting on that.
Yes.
Once you put walls and a roof on something, doesn't it not become outside anymore?
That was my
That's
question
exactly
last,
what
yeah.
Commissioner Smith said last meeting.
The parklets doesn't allow a roof. It does allow like pop-up shades and things like that, but it doesn't allow a full structure. The ones in parking lots do allow full structures, and I think it's the extent to which what is your material of walls? Does it cover 100% of your walls? That kind of thing. So there is an extent to which some of those ones in parking lots could be more sealed up, like similar to a building, and others would not.
I'm not laughing at you, I'm just laughing at the absurdity of the whole thing. Did you get a chance to open those letters yet?
I'm sorry, it's
We actually had that discussion, Mayor, last meeting, and it was exactly what you just repeated. At what point does outdoors become essentially indoors? And then our concern was safety of the users in terms of fire safety and
Yeah,
sources of ignition.
I watched the meeting.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't
You
tell.
couldn't tell.
I wanted to make the point.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask Ms. Turway a question?
Mr. Griff?
Ms. Turway, we got some additional information from the Downtown Association manager, and it seems that there's a lot of good examples of other jurisdictions, so of course, let's not reinvent the wheel. I was thinking particularly of the tent covering that they have at Oregon City Brewing, which is just the cover and it's open. They do have approved heaters, I don't know what you call them, the kind that look like a lamp that they
Seems
use
like it.
underneath. So if somebody had a a pop-up tent and it met the fire department's approval and all of that, they could, they could potentially have some heat without enclosing it.
That's correct.
They could just have a top,
Only for parking lots, not for parklets.
not for parklets.
Okay. No other questions? Is there a motion?
I believe we're taking time.
Yeah, we do, I'm sorry, we do have citizen
Usually
comments.
Katie tells me.
Yes,
when we
I'm
have-
sorry.
Go ahead.
So we have Liz Hannum from the Downtown Oregon City Association, and then next we'll have Yvette.
I'm Liz. I'm the director for the Downtown Oregon City Association. I did just want to come and voice my support for the parklets and that the businesses that have applied and have not been approved yet are looking for the answer to tonight's question, whether or not they're extended through the November through March in order to push forward. The majority of them are thinking, why would we push forward on something if we're not going to be able to put it up until March? Or we put it up here and then it has to get taken down in a month. We have to pay to store it, all of those things. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. And if you do extend it, I'm sure there are Oregonians that will brave the rain and come out and use them, but they might be more effective if the parklets that are specifically on public property, the street parklets, might have a tent or shelter and heat. So I know that private parking lots have that ability now, but the point of the parklets is to extend the space while COVID restrictions are in place, which don't look like they're going to change anytime soon. So I just wanted to kind of remind everyone that that's the purpose of these, and if they're we should probably try to make them the most effective that they can be if we're going to extend it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ann?
Oh, sorry, Yvette Kerwin. Please come forward.
Hello, I'm Yvette Kerwin with Nebula Restaurant and Wine Bar. I actually did get approved for the parklet, but one of the reasons I didn't do it was because, one, the fires had hit, and it had shortened the length of the time that I'd be able to have it up. Our restaurants, downtown Oregon City alone, mine has seen a 60% decrease in revenue. And every penny counts, and having to spend $7,000 on a parklet with covering and heaters in order to get 4 seats out there or 8 seats out there, the math didn't work out. Especially having to have somebody build it and break it down again for me at the end of next month. So if you can extend it, I think there would be a lot of businesses that would really buy in. I know that a lot of local businesses, restaurants didn't do it because of that, because of longevity of time and storage and money. And we're all saving pennies right now because it's crucial for us to get through this year and be open and, have a vibrant little Main Street.
Thank you. Anybody else, Katie?
No, there is no one else.
All right, so what's the commission's pleasure?
So view this as a business decision. Understanding that by its very nature, it could come to a conclusion at any time if we were to successfully get COVID under control. I also understand the competing viewpoints for the use of both the business increasing their square footage, which is a business decision. If I'm going per $1,000, how long does it take me to recoup that, even break even, and then go forward? And that's a business decision. I'm also appreciative of the fact that parking is public and other businesses forego income generating opportunities by virtue of parking. I think the last commission meeting, if someone wants to sum it, I believe we were letting the thing run to its conclusion end of November for applications. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then and anybody that applied and wanted to pursue it at that point could. Can somebody give a better summation of where we stood at that point?
You're correct.
That is correct. There are no changes to the program itself. However, if applicants have submitted an application by November 30th, they would be allowed to stay up and open through the beginning of the next season, which is March 14th. So March 15th, we were going to open them back up again.
Possibly.
And so we weren't going to allow any parklets or parking lot uses to occur between December 1st and March 14th. So they would be up during the nicer season, down during the winter, and then could come back up again as a part of this pilot project next year in 2021. This proposal would allow those that have submitted an application before November 30th to stay over the winter.
Yeah, so once again, we have grouped the two separate approaches, one on private property and one on public property, into the same program. Have we differentiated them in terms of their ability to continue, or they both come to a conclusion?
We have not differentiated them in their ability to continue.
Sit back and listen to the balance of the commission.
Comments?
Yes, please.
Commissioner McGriff?
I think that I would like to support this resolution because I think we need to give our businesses downtown the opportunity to take advantage of this if they so choose. We're just providing this on a temporary basis. Again, we have the opportunity to come back and review this. If it doesn't work, then we haven't lost anything, but people do have an opportunity, and again, that will be their choice. And I appreciate you coming and talking about it, because you're saying what I have heard in having some of the business approach me about it. They didn't apply for the reasons that you stated, but if they have an opportunity now, they may take advantage of it, and I think that's okay. So I appreciate your coming. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
I really don't have more to say than what we had a lengthy discussion at the last meeting. I think this is a way to kind of address the concerns with the business owners that already have put parklets out. It allows us to make a plan in the meantime for the new parklets if and when we open them up in March, and to be able to really think through the details of what it means to have permanent ones. Because my concern was, if we don't deal with some of those questions, we're going to find ourselves with parklets that are going to be there for long term. So if we're going that direction, which I think I would like to have that conversation, I want to be able to go through the details on how those look and what the expectations are. So I'm comfortable with where we're at right now, and that we're going to keep focusing on this and hopefully come up with a plan that keeps this program going.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Approve.
Moved and seconded. I only have one thing to say, and that is that I do understand the issues that Ms. Bush and some other folks have made about parking in downtown. However, during this, we don't really have an evening parking problem in downtown right now, because there's just not that many places are open and they can't take enough people to make any difference. So, certainly looking forward to the March timeframe, I would want to seriously consider, one, what has happened with COVID, and are we in a place where there's vaccines available and all those other kinds of things? But more importantly, as it becomes better weather again and more shops are open downtown, that parking issue really has to be something we need to take a look at. So call roll, please.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Denise McGriff,
Aye.
Mayor Dan Holliday.
Aye. 7C is me request to attend an executive session. Is this yours, Mr. Conkle?
That would be
Excuse me, I want to take a moment and thank Ms. Hannum for the submittal she did. It had links and it took care of some of our concerns with the answers from Ms. Turway about fire safety and the sources of ignition and how things are done. So thank you both for that.
Yeah, that was really good information.
Ms. Riggs?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commission. The city has received a request from the Canby Current to attend future Oregon City Commission executive session meetings. The City Commission needs to review the established policy, which I have included in your packet, regarding media in executive session and the application with the supplemental materials that were submitted to determine if it meets the criteria in the policy. Then a decision of approval or denial would need to be determined based on the criteria and supplemental information. I also want to make note that on the Zoom call, we do have Tyler Frankie. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is the owner and I guess executive publisher for the Canby Current, and he is available to answer any questions if you have direct questions for him as well.
Question, anybody?
I reviewed the criteria and then I reviewed the application on the business license. I presume he's doing business under the same business license of Now Hear This Media. Is that also his? I'm not seeing publications from him. Perhaps you have, since you.
Yeah, I see publications from the Canby Current on a mostly 2 or 3 times a day basis.
Okay, I don't, so that would qualify it in my mind.
I think there was one publication that he submitted for the
There was one,
application, and that was
yes.
included. And then I believe there is a website that if you ventured to view the website, there was other publications available.
There's a Canby Current website and there's the Canby Now Podcast website, both of which operate basically the same.
I wanted to mention that when I opened it at home, I got the same thing I'm looking at right now on my screen, which is not the, because it was that.
Oh, it's the sizing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I tried to size it,
You
yeah.
hit
Hit
50
the page, okay.
Yeah, it's because of the one picture is bigger than the rest of the
Ah,
documents.
okay. I did that at home and it just kind of didn't want to do
So if
it.
you scroll down,
Yeah.
you'll be able to see all
That's a pretty straightforward question. I mean, we've got our definitions of what meets the criteria. They're there to be read.
Seems to me that reviewing the material that that they meet the guidelines for being a media outlet.
Mr. Conkle,
Go ahead.
sir. Both, this is actually for both of you, both the city recorder and the city manager. So based on the information that you received, I guess, is it your opinion that, I know you said in the staff report that you have 1, 2, and 3 for options, so is it your determination that this meets the city's criteria? I had not seen this before. I mean, obviously, I've not seen this type of request before. And
I think what's interesting is that as far as I can recall, this is the first time we've had a request like this since this policy was made in 2011. I believe in the discussions with Ms. Riggs and Mr. Kabaisman, I think when you look at the articles that are written, there's advertisement. I don't know that there's enough there to say it's not. So then that means I would say that to be conservative in your position that it is. I think there's a differentiation between a blogging site and and I guess that's where I would probably be a little more, this doesn't really seem like a news organization, but this seems to meet those criteria. And there was some recent direction from the Department of Justice or the Attorney General related to, that came out after we adopted this. And I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon City was not the only city to adopt a policy similar to this around the same time, because there was a lot of concerns about, bloggers kind of operating in their basement and saying, I'm news media, I get to come and sit on city council meetings. And so a lot of communities did this. After that, the Oregon Attorney General put out additional guidance and essentially said, if somebody meets the definition of news media, they get in whether you have this policy or not. And, the question before you is this really someone whose business is to disseminate? Is this entity an entity that is disseminating news information or just, making statements online? And, it seems like it meets the criteria.
And quite honestly, when I first viewed his business license and I looked at, described the type of service and goods, that's what gave me concern, because it
Right.
simply said podcast and advertising, contract writing, graphic design, and marketing services. And then I saw one article and I just didn't know if that sufficed. I'm not trying to be obstruction. I just want to make sure it meets the definition. And if so, I'm fine with whatever the outcome may be.
And that could be something that you could ask the applicant, being how they are on the line. I do know that business application was not from this year, so I'm not sure if the city of Canby, once you have applied, if you ever have to go back and update that
You don't.
based on, yeah, I don't think you do. And so that's a little different from the city of Oregon City. Every year we do a renewal and we ask folks to update their information. And so it's a little different in different cities. So that's something you could ask.
So I do have to say that, you know, from 2011 to today, media has changed dramatically in that time period. Print media is either gone or going away, and most of it's turning to some kind of online platform. Mr. Frankie's been in Canby, I believe, 3 years. I don't remember what the business license said. And
19.
first, he was just doing podcasts, and this last, it was about the beginning of this year that he came out with the Canby Current as a sort of a daily paper for Canby. And he reports on the Canby City Council meetings, Canby School Board, traffic accidents, fires, you name it. He gets stories out about it almost every day. So do you have a question for Mr. Frankie?
No, I do not. If that being true, that being correct, and I don't follow his publication, then I would say he meets the criteria.
Commissioner Smith?
So I was actually on the commission when we made this. And so, yeah, it has changed over the years, and I don't, you know, maybe at some point we revisit some of the things that might not be, you know, that might apply to our current world. But to me, there's no question that they fit the criteria. I've followed their website, and I quite frankly think that they cover Oregon City news better than some other people. They've clearly had certain articles about Oregon City way in advance of any local media on numerous occasions. And they might want to think about starting on Oregon City Current.
So is there a motion? Commissioner McGriff?
Thank you. Ms. Riggs, is there a current Oregon City business license?
There's not, or I guess I shouldn't say that because I don't know the answer to that. I did not do a check if there is a current Oregon City business license, so I apologize. I did not do that due diligence.
You can answer that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you need one to doing whatever you're doing.
Why?
I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
If you're gonna do business in the city of Oregon City, you would need to have a business license in the city of Oregon City, but I don't know if he sells subscriptions in Oregon
don't
City.
either.
I'm not sure how that works.
I don't either.
So I don't want to spend a bunch more time beating this dead horse. Is there a motion?
Yes, move to approve, I'm not on the right page here.
The media request by the Canby.
Move to approve a media request to attend executive session. 7C.
Second.
Moved and second, call the roll.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Denise McGriff,
Aye.
Mayor Dan Holliday.
Aye.
The motion passes.
So we are going to now adjourn into executive session. And once we're done with that, we'll come back and take item 7D.